What's up, traders? Mark here. It's Saturday morning, and a couple evenings ago I put together a presentation on trading psychology, and I gave it to a small group of people, and I wanted to re-record it and put it out here on YouTube. And gang, I also want you to know that a lot of the things that I cover in this, and then especially at the end when we go through charts, these are things that we talk a lot about in this new group that I've put together called the Trading Titans Mastermind Group. Okay, and myself and Jason Stapleton have put this together to work with traders around the world. And so if you're interested to learn more, please sign up on the email list. It's the link to the webpage is in the description of this video, so go get signed up. Otherwise, at least at this point, there's no way for you to learn more. So let's go ahead and get into the presentation. What I'm going to cover in this presentation is so vital to your trading success, and frankly, it also applies to life. So it doesn't just apply to trading. And what you guys will find is that inside of trading, there's a lot of life lessons, because it deals with who we are as individuals and the psychology that we struggle with in a day-to-day basis. All of that stuff comes out when we trade. And so gang, I'm going to encourage you to listen to this through the end, because at the end I'm going to show some charts, and I'm going to talk about just really how I deal with systems and what I'm looking for when it comes to numbers. So bear with me. I'm going to try to go through it quickly so it doesn't get too long, and I hope that it helps some of you. I know that we're all at different places in our trading careers, so there's going to be some of you that can really relate with this, and there's going to be some of you who have no idea what the hell I'm saying, and there's going to be some of you who have already conquered this. But guys, this took me a long time to conquer personally, a lot longer than I really thought that it should or would. So what I want to do is I want to start out by just talking about my journey and expose a lot of the mistakes that I made as a trader, and maybe you can avoid some of them. And then after I talk about my journey, again, I want to walk you through some charts, show you what I'm putting together. But let's go ahead and get started. I want to start out by showing a little proverb that there's so much wisdom behind this, and I wish we were all wise enough to learn from it. If you do what you have always done, you will get what you have always gotten. Right? Makes sense. You see, when I was struggling as a trader personally, I was living in the trenches every single day, and so I had tunnel vision, and it was really difficult for me to recognize it was my pride that was getting in the way of me becoming a profitable trader. So let me just kind of continue down my journey here and tell you guys why I believe you should listen to me. I have a feeling we've all been here, right? I'm too smart to fail. I don't need help. Refuse to acknowledge there's a problem. Well, gang, for me, here was the outcome. 2 blown accounts, a true mess behind the machine. And when I talk about machine, I mean my trading computer, okay? And the worst thing that happened through all of this, I developed bad habits, and because of those bad habits, honestly, I never thought that I would become consistently profitable in my trading. I was truly a wreck behind the monitors, gang. It forced me to my knees, and it all comes back to one simple quote. This was me. If you already think you know, there's no room to be taught. You see, I thought I knew it all. I thought that I was smart enough that I could figure it out. And I was so wrong. And I suffered because of it. So what was my solution? Well, after I accepted there was a problem, I hired a trading psychologist. I didn't make a live trade for 18 months. That's right, gang, 18 months. I tested my ass off. Okay? I built a system that fit my personality. a risk that I was comfortable with, easy for me to see the next trade, a system with predictable outcomes. Now, before I move on from here, gang, I want to circle back to this psychologist. I'll never forget the first conversation that we had on the phone. He lived in San Francisco, so we did everything over phone. This is the first thing he told me. Trading sucks. I didn't know what to say. I honestly was floored. But let's dig into it. Here's exactly where he went with this. So let's talk about retail traders, and I use the term traders loosely, so that's why it's in quotes. Because a lot of people who sit behind a monitor believe they're traders. Well, I for the first 2 years of my quote trading career, I really wasn't a trader. I was just somebody who was dabbling and had no clue what the hell I was doing. Now, why does this happen, gang? Well, we have unrealistic expectations, and it's not entirely our fault. If you think about it, there's a lot of marketing that you get hit with. If you go to the web or you get on an email list, you get hit with a bunch of marketing and talks about 90% win rates, talks about six-figure income, says you can just sit in front of the machine and make money immediately, make your six figures every year, right? So it's not entirely our fault, but at the end of the day, we do have to take some blame for it, because there's no such thing as an easy dollar. There's no get-rich-quick scheme. This takes years, gang, years. Now, here's another interesting thing that happens once you get into trading that you really aren't aware of, and frankly, you may not even be aware you're doing it now. But winners are not satisfying, right? Think about your last winning trade. Did you just stop watching the charts after you won? Did you just walk away and move on with your day? My guess is most of you didn't. My guess is you continued watching the charts. You came back to it to see what the final outcome of that long position would have been. And you sat back and you said, my God, I could have made an extra $1,000. So you're not satisfied. And then, gang, when you have a losing trade, it's actually real pain. And it's an ego blow. And this is where the bad habits start creeping in. And then you begin to start hesitating, pulling the trigger, and then you move your stop to break even too quickly. Then you exit trades early. And then all of a sudden, whatever system it was that you were trading, whatever idea you had in your head that you were doing, it's all out the window because you've changed it all. And now you have no idea what you're trading. You've become truly a discretionary trader, but you don't have enough trading experience to be a discretionary trader. And gang, if that's not it, we're at a distinct disadvantage. We don't have the money that institutional traders have. The length of our trades, well, we want instant gratification. You see, professional traders don't think that way. We have limited access to information. We can't afford $10,000, $20,000 for an annual subscription to a Bloomberg terminal. We have limited access to technology. I just have a regular computer to trade from, right? It's nothing special. But because of all these disadvantages, gang, there's only one way that we can gain an edge in the market. You see, we have to learn to think like a professional trader. Now, what does this mean? So, it all starts in your mind. You have to learn to release control. You have to accept that you can't control the market. You have no control what happens after you hit the button to enter a trade. The only thing you can control at this point is your risk. Okay? You have to accept the fact that it's impossible to predict the outcome of every trade. The only way you could do that is if you knew who all the players were across all the different time frames, and you knew what their positions were, the size of their positions. Well, that's not going to happen. So you got to let it go. Okay? You have to learn how to treat trading like a numbers game and understand the probabilities. So I'm going to pound this into you guys for the next minute or so, okay? So bear with me. Each individual trade has an unpredictable outcome. However, a verified system can produce consistent results, and this is your edge. Now, on the next slide, I'm going to summarize this. So gang, if you're a serious trader or you strive to become a serious trader, I urge you to get out a pen and paper, and I want you to write these two things down. And I want you to come and every morning that you sit down at your machine, read them. Okay? It'll take you 10 seconds. So here we go. You have to believe in the unpredictability of each individual trade. And you must have belief in probabilities over time. Gang, if probabilities and statistics didn't work out, we wouldn't have casinos. We wouldn't have the lottery, right? They work. It's proven. Okay, so let's continue to think like a trader. What do we talk about? You have to accept that each trade is unpredictable. You have to define your edge using probabilities. You have to always know where the next trade is. And you have to be mentally prepared to lose money. Gang, if you have all four of these things in place, there's a little bit of magic that happens. The market can no longer hurt you. And once you get to this place, you just trade, right? Gang, have you ever wondered how you can predict the future? So wouldn't we all want to do that as traders? I'm going to tell you how. Look at the past, right? What have you been doing the past 60 days that are going to affect your next 60 days? Are you spending quality time when you're trading? Meaning that you're very intentional about what you do. You take notes. You log trades. You analyze your activity. You analyze the statistics in your system. You know what? If you're not doing that, I can tell you what the next 60 days in your trading career looks like. It's no different than a job, right? You go into a job, you don't expect to just sit in a corner and do nothing but become better. No, you go to training. You learn from people who are in a position that you want to be in. You see, this is no different. But why do we expect to just sit here and start making a ton of money? So if this is the case, gang, I want you to take a really long and honest look at yourself. And what is your future predicting? Right? Ask yourself these questions. Where are you spending your time when you trade? What are you doing to improve what's broken? Have you accepted there's a problem? Gang, be honest with yourself. You see, me personally, I worked 14 hours a day when I was broken. I didn't trade any live money for 18 months because I didn't deserve to. And for 14 hours a day, I busted my ass to become better and break those bad habits. And guess what happened? Well, I built the perfect system. Now, I would ask you guys, this is not a live recording, but when I did this for my group, I asked them this question. Do you believe there's a perfect system? Now, most of them said no. A few of them said yes. I didn't get the chance to ask the ones that said yes. I didn't get the chance to ask them why they said yes. But my answer to this question is absolutely, and I built it. Now, before you think that I'm egotistical, let's move on to the next slide. So a perfect system is one that allows you as the trader to execute without hesitation. It allows you as the trader to accept the risk. It allows you to stop blaming the market. The market's not against you. And it allows you to move from the scared trader that you are today to one that's relaxed behind the machine. You see, that's why I said I built the perfect system, because this is what it did for me. Okay? I'm not saying it's going to do it for you. Only you can find that for yourself. Okay? So gang, what's your story going to be? You going to create a plan? You going to follow it? You going to test the system? And are you going to accept the risk in each trade? Alright gang, that's it. So let's go ahead and switch over because I have a handful of things that I want to show you real quickly. Okay, gang, so I just want to run through what I do personally and the system that I have built over the last several years. Now, this is a swing trading system, and this is a 60-minute chart. It's the Euro USD pair, and it's real simple. So I have just a handful of zones that I'm looking to trade from. I have green zones right here, and I have red zones. Now, the green zones and the red zones represent sellers on this time frame, the 60-minute chart, that are aggressively either buying if it's a green zone or selling if it's a red zone. And so I expect when price comes back into one of these areas, I expect a reaction back in the direction of where those sellers originally took a position. Now, this is only sellers and buyers from this time frame. So these areas by themselves, well, they're not going to have the highest probability. Okay, I already tested that and I know that. However, you're going to see, let's see if I can find some. Okay, here's a white area here. So you're going to see white and black zones. Those are going to represent buyers and sellers from a higher time frame. So the idea here is if I have sellers on a 60-minute time frame and sellers on a higher time frame, that my probabilities increase. Okay, and then when that happens, you see these zones turn to magenta or blue for a buy. The other thing that you see here are these blue dotted lines, and what these represent are, I call them institutional levels. They're levels that I have tested that have a probability that when price moves into them, there's a reaction. And so all I'm doing is I'm combining these things together to produce a higher probability in an area that I can risk a little bit to try and make a lot. So what I want to look for is, all I'm doing is I'm looking for when I have a blue dotted line inside one of these zones. And then I just place an order at that blue line. That's it. My stop, I risk a 1 ATR, which stands for average true range. It measures the volatility in the market. So the higher the volatility, the more I'm risking, but the more I'm trying to make. So I risk a 1 ATR, and I try to make a 5 ATR. So whatever this white line down here is, that's my stop. And then I multiply it by 5 for my target. So this trade here, while it looks great, it actually was a loser because my risk was too tight. But that's okay. I accepted the risk, and it's either going to play in my favor or it's not. And then you can see down here, you have another blue line and on a green line. Well, it stopped printing right before it hit here, so I wouldn't have been able to catch that, right? And so as we scroll through the chart, my only point here is, again, you can quickly see where your trades are, right? You can see whether you have trades or you don't, and right, you go through a period here where there are no trades, right? You have, now here's one. That one worked out pretty good. So if we continue scrolling through, here's one that wouldn't have worked out for a short. Here's a long that wouldn't have worked out. And then there's another short that wouldn't have worked out. You see? So here's 3 trades in a row that just wouldn't have worked out for me. And that's okay. I know that's going to happen. But we just continue scrolling through. There's another one, short, right here, that would not have worked out. There's a long right here. This one would have hit target. Here's a short. That one would have hit target. Here's another short right here. and that would have hit target. Here's a long inside this zone, and that would hit target. Here's a short and a pink line. You see the pink line right there? So you have three things that line up there, and that one would have hit target from here. There's a long right there that would not have hit. Here's another long that wouldn't have hit. And another one. So there you go. You get 3 in a row that were losses, but we just had 3 winners in a row, so we could technically have 15 losses. There's another long that wouldn't work. And then here's a short right there that would work. So again, my point is I'm not cherry picking a chart, right? I'm just walking through it for you, and you can see how easy it is to see the signals. Okay? And then here's the other thing that I want to show you guys. One more thing here. Okay, so in this data, what I have is just over 100 trades, and this is just over 2 weeks of trading. No, actually, it is right at 2 weeks of trading. And I'm going to finish. I want to get through the month of May. It takes a little bit of time to really dig into the numbers, but I did. This was this past week, and then this was the first week of May. So right now, you can see a 57% return, and that's if I just take every single trade. And there were just over 100 trades, right? 107 trades over, I think it was 9 trading days, because May 1st was a Tuesday. So I just went May 1st and started doing trades. So you have just, what, about 11, let's see, about 12 trades a day, roughly. And that's if you sat and traded all day. Now your max drawdown, 11%, not too bad. This is only risking 1.5% per trade. This does account for commissions. So there are 363 contracts traded. Oh, I guess it's actually 10 total days. Okay. All right. So let's dig into this just a little bit. Now I recognize there's only 100 trades, but you can start seeing some potential trends inside of your data about this point. So you can see that trade type 1 and trade type 2, they're about equal, although the profit factor on trade type 2 is more. I don't know why this format came through weird, but what this is supposed to be is if the trade happens in the last 2 hours of the trading day. So let's just start with anything that has a rejection prior to entry. So that would be a trade where I take a short, but it bounced off of a long zone prior to the short. So you can see overall, I missed out on a ton of winners. So that's not going to work for us. We don't want to do that. Now, no Stoke reset. Well, this is if I enter a trade and then I get stopped out and it immediately sets up again before my stochastic goes back above 50. Okay, so let's remove any of the ones that don't have a Stoke reset. Well, look at that, guys. So we just went from a 50-something% return up to a 68. We reduced the number of commissions, and we're making more money. And our win percentage popped up, right? And our profit factor looks a lot better, getting close to 2. A 2x profit factor is incredible. Now I want to bring this one back, just because I want to start each one of these fresh. So now let's look at the last 2 hours of the day. And that hurts us. Now notice one thing here. It does help the type 2 trade, but not the type 1. So let's bring those back in. And then lunchtime. Let's remove any trades around lunchtime. Look at that. That helps even more than the Stoke reset. And how easy of a filter is that? If it's this time, you just don't trade. Pretty simple, right? You can just walk away from your machine. And gang, let me ask you something. How many of you would like to make this over a 2-week period? 69% return, and this is with no position sizing. Now, if we use position sizing, meaning that if we make more money, we're just going to keep risking 1.5% of the account, and that's almost an 80% return, right? Now, let's continue. Now, stochastic 60 and stochastic 15, what those are is just if the stochastic is sloping in the same direction as my trade. So if I'm long, I want a positive slope. So let's remove ones that are against that on the 60. And that doesn't help. Add those back in. Let's look at the 15. And you can see that doesn't help either. So we'll add that back in. Alright. The next thing I want to quickly look at is how many attempts am I trading out of each zone. Now the only time I'm really going to care, and I didn't start tracking this till later, you can see, but if it's over 4, let's see what that does. We'll watch this number right here. You know, it helps a little bit. But I don't have it on all my data. And then these other filters, you know, honestly, we can just forget about them. In fact, this one, I need to get rid of this one because these are trades that I normally wouldn't take. Okay, so here we are with no filters applied except removing these trades because I wouldn't take those. We're at 53% over 2 weeks. That's a hell of a return in 2 weeks. Now, if we add position sizing in, that actually hurts us with the current setup of the trades. Now, why would that hurt us? Well, because there may have just been a handful of trades that end up being losses after we just increased our size. So let's go back down to no. There's not much of a difference there. And then the next thing let's look at is, well, there were 2 filters that looked pretty good. It was lunchtime and the Stoke reset. Okay, so what's interesting is if we just do lunchtime by itself, we're at 66% return. Now, I want you to notice what happens here, and I need to zoom out on this spreadsheet just a little bit so you can see it, is when we apply the Stoke reset. Look at your type 1 and your type 2. Right now, we're basically even with the exception of the profit factor. The overall profit factor is 1.84. So once we apply the Stoke reset, we lose a bunch of money here. We make it here. The overall profit factor pops. We're making about the same amount of money, but what's most important is we're reducing our trading costs, we're reducing our time in the market, and our trading statistics are improving. Now, one thing that we could do is, what if we only apply the Stoke reset to type 1 and not to type 2? Well, if that's the case, type 1 right now with Stoke reset and the time filter makes $5,400. Now these numbers right here, gang, I don't have commissions built into here. They run through this side. I need to build those in, so I'll do that later. But we're at 5,400. Now if we bring this back, we're at 1,500 here. Didn't click it the right way. That's weird. Okay, so we make $2,000 more here. So what if we said, I only want to do the Stoke reset on type 1, keep the time filter on both. Does that mean we could add $2,000 to our total? Well, yes it does. So let's go ahead and remove it again. You could add $2,000 minus fees to this. So let's just say it's $1,500. That's conservative, but that would put you at an 80% return. Now, if we then go ahead and look at position sizing, gang, you're talking about pushing yourself into the 100% range in 2 weeks. Now, let me ask you something. How many of you have the ability to analyze your trading this way? Gang, this is trading by the numbers, right? This is let the numbers speak for itself. And then trust the numbers because you know that you did the testing and that you saw the traits, right? And gang, my testing tool, this data is from my testing tool that I had built. It all flows in here. I copy and paste it. So I can do all this fairly quickly. Now, when I say fairly quickly, it still takes time, right? Because you want to make sure you're doing it right. Anyway, gang, I hope you all learned something from this. I've set up a mastermind group, which I'm going to continue talking about. But if you guys are interested in learning more about this, please get on the email list and come check out the mastermind group. So the only way to sign up for it at this point is get on my email list, and I'll make sure you get sent an email, and then you can check it out if it's something you're interested in. All right, gang. Hope you have a great weekend.